Welcome back to another episode of Peak Performers Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin, and today we're going to discuss why more is not necessarily the recipe for success.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Try harder, do more, push harder. That's the recipe for success. Not always. I want you to imagine for a moment you're in your living room and you hear this interesting noise buzzing around the window. As you get a little closer, you can see that it's a fly trying to get outside and doesn't understand that the window is stopping them from getting outside. And they're trying and they're trying and they're trying. And there's actually even a couple dead ones on the windowsill that have been there and tried before. So you walk across the room and you open the door to outside. At this point, maybe more flies are going to come in, but you've given this fly the opportunity to escape, to get its freedom. But what does it do? It continues to fly head first into the window over and over and over again till it's absolutely exhausted and then dies there right on the windowsill. When their freedom was certainly a couple feet away, but they decided that they had a belief that all I needed to do is push harder and it was going to work. Well, in business, many of you are doing the same thing. You keep trying something over and over and over again, and it's not working. You know, if you took a wall and you just put a wall up in the middle of a field, many of you just run at that wall and try to figure out how to break it down, right? Break through the wall. And that is actually one way to go, right? An obstacle comes up, and what's one option? Well, let's just break through it. Let's put enough force, enough energy, and we'll just go right through it. So sometimes we start with our fist. That doesn't work. So then we just roll into it with our shoulder. That doesn't work. We kind of run at it, right? Pound at it really fast, and maybe that'll work. And sometimes these things do work, but many times they don't. And what we find is that people go over and over and over again doing the same thing or just amplifying it using other techniques. Well, in this case, you end up with a sore shoulder, a bruised fist, and maybe even a broken leg at running at this thing. So then what do? You pick up a hammer, right? And you start banging on this wall with a hammer. You start to make some progress. In some cases, it may break down. And other times, you have to go back and get a sledgehammer. Then you get a battering ram. Then you get a wrecking ball. And we look at problems that arise in our business, and we end up taking the same tactics sometimes over and over again. And there's other ways to do it. And I know what many of you think in there and go, hey, Thor, well, you could go over it. You could go around it, right? You could go under it. I could build a door. All of those are options. So let's go through some of these. Yes, instead of trying to go through the wall, let's simply go around it. Depending how wide the wall is, that might be a better tactic. Depending on how high it is and what sort of resources we have, maybe going over it's better. If we have a shovel, maybe we can dig under it and go that way. Maybe we simply look at the wall and find out, is there a part of this wall that is flawed? Where there's a weakness, there's a loose boulder, a loose board, there's an imperfection. And it's simply, if we exploit this imperfection, this weakness, we just might get through this issue, this problem, this wall. If we have a team, maybe what we end up doing is building a pyramid and then simply walking over the wall. When someone gets on the top of the wall, someone helps the rest of the team over the wall. If you've ever done a Spartan race, you'll see this happen all the time. People helping other people get over it. Maybe there's someone that has actually made it on the other side of the wall. Someone that you know. Someone that you can reach out to. Someone you can call, text. Hey, you made it on the other side. How'd you do it? Model them. Don't try to create it all yourself. Maybe there's a hidden door. Maybe there's an easier way of doing it. Years ago when I bought my first house, I bought a beautiful 1930s house, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It sat on top of this hill. It was in a great neighborhood, beautiful street, but it had been neglected for a while. And it was overgrown. The front yard was massive, but it was overgrown with all these shrubs that at one point were beautiful, but they were just left unattended and they just got out of control. So I got in there with a handsaw and I started pruning some of these things back, trying to eliminate. I had to get rid of actually a lot of them. And I got in there with a saw, and finally I'm like, I'll be forever trying to do this by hand. So then I tried the chainsaw, but with a chainsaw, it's kind of tough to do a shrub because it's just too many sticks. It just doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, look, I've got to get rid of these things. Sawing them by hand's not going to work. I just invested all my money in the house. I was broke. I didn't have any money to hire a landscaper to get these things out for me. The chainsaw wasn't working. So I come up with the brilliant idea. If I can't saw them, I can't chainsaw them, let me pour kerosene on them and I'll light them on fire. That's how I'm going to get rid of the shrubs. So here I am, up by the house on the top of the hill, kerosened all these shrubs, and I light them. I look like Moses on the top of the mountain getting the 10 Commandments. If anybody is going through this and has a shrub problem, let me tell you, pouring kerosene on them and lighting them on fire is not a good way to get rid of shrubs. It did not work. But the reason for the story is try something else. When you're not getting the results that you want, try something else. It may or may not work. In my case, it didn't work. But I wasn't going to keep doing the thing over and over again. Finally, the solution is to rent one of these stump grinders. Did a great job. Went in there, tore these things up, got the yard looking beautiful. Now let's go back to the wall analogy. What if we can, maybe with a shovel, disrupt the foundation of this wall? Is it possible for us to disrupt the foundation of this wall and actually have it crumble? Or what about using a simple domino? Do you know if you take a simple domino, one that you play dominoes with, the game, and you set that up, and then right next to that, you put just a little bit bigger domino, and then a little bit bigger one next to that, and then a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. If you had enough dominoes, you could topple a 100-story office tower. It's simply the law of physics. When you start something in motion, if you keep building that energy, eventually it will take down anything. Now, why are we talking about walls and breaking through walls? I want you to give thought to your biggest business issues, those things that you're having the most trouble with. Are you attacking them the same way you have over and over? And are you simply trying to apply more resources, more money, more energy, more effort to the problem and not getting the results that you want? Stop doing what you've always done. Mix it up. Ask for help. Engage resources. Become creative. Take other tactics. So the question of the day, where in your business have you been doing this? And what are some steps that you could take to try a different approach? And if you have a front yard with shrubs, don't use kerosene. Maybe I should have used dynamite. Now that may have been fun. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you back here on the Peak Performers Podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.